Ooh, Bad Larry.
What's up, everybody? And welcome back to the Bad Larry Kingdom. I'm your host, Bad Larry, and today we're checking out the Spectacular Spider-Man, issue number 146. This was released in September of 1988, but has a cover date of January 1988. The writers are Jerry Conway, and the artist is Sal Buscema. If you have followed the series, you may know that, you may remember that last name Buscema. Well, his older brother John Buscema drew Avengers 298 2 episodes ago. So down in the comments, let me know which artist brother you like better, Sal Buscema or John Buscema. I do like the cover art on here, except the way that Sal Buscema drew Spider-Man's crotchal region. He looks a little thick in that midsection. And if you look at it just quickly, you may think, oh, is this Dr. Octopus? No, the cover is actually quite apropos to what's going on in the story, where the pipes are going to attack Harry Osborn and Spider-Man, the Hobgoblin in the background. But remember, Spectacular Spider-Man is obviously going to compete on the shelf with the Amazing Spider-Man, the art from Todd McFarlane. So I think that this is back then their version of clickbait, making things seem like, oh, you better buy this. It could be a Doc Ock issue, and the comic book store man is not going to let you just peruse the magazine. You better buy it. So it's like the original clickbait, these kind of covers that make you feel like you're getting something, but it's something else. On the roof of his condo in Bedford Tower, Spider-Man's in a good mood. He thinks about how he has returned to classes at Empire State University. Why is that important, you might ask me? Well, Peter took a leave of absence from his studies back in Amazing Spider-Man issue number 242, but has recently resumed his studies in Amazing Spider-Man number 301. Spider-Man is a bit of a realist, maybe not a pessimist, but definitely not a true optimist. He knows his luck has been going well, so now he's wondering when his bad luck will return. As he's about to head into his apartment, Spider-Man is caught off guard when one of the fan vents on the roof comes to life and tries to attack him. He remembers a similar incident happening during his battle with Mysterio in last episode, and Spider-Man wonders if this is yet another attack from his foe. However, after he smashes the vent, he finds there's no traces of mechanical parts or robotic parts that would identify as a Mysterio machine had put together. Spider-Man finds this weird and heads back into his condo. Inside, he finds that Mary Jane and Christy aren't back yet, which saves him the trouble of having to sneak around. He is still bothered by the fact that the vent attacked him and thinks about the air around him feeling strangely electric. He finds a note from MJ telling him that she and Christy went out to buy groceries, and he decides to take a shower. I miss these days when if someone was to leave somewhere and they were supposed to be at home or something like that, you would leave your husband or your wife or your mom or your dad a note letting you know where he had gone and what time you expected to be back. There wasn't this text message, and it had to be all these text messages going around. You told your parents or your wife or your husband what you're going to do and what time you should be back, and that was that. Mary Jane and this girl with the pigtails, Christy, her cousin, have finished their shopping. MJ is watching Christy eating some fruit, and she remarks about how much the girl has eaten. She's eaten like a pig and yet hasn't gained any weight. Christy responds by saying she must be lucky before changing the subject to MJ's modeling career. What we find out later in Web of Spider-Man number 54, that the reason Christy avoids the subject of her weight gain is because she secretly has an eating disorder. Christy also lies to MJ, saying that she's there because her parents are out traveling in Europe, when her parents actually don't know that she's out there staying with MJ. She's a bit of a runaway. MJ and Christy get very lucky heading back inside right before the lamppost transforms paranormally and just before it has a chance to attack them. A small brief art interruption, an art critique interruption. What we see here is on the left, Todd McFarlane's art depicting Mary Jane Watson. And on the right, what we have is Sal Buscema's depiction of Mary Jane Watson. I will tell you, these two girls, although the same character, do not look anything alike. You can't tell me one is the same. The girl on the left is curvy. The girl on the right is very momish looking. Their hairstyles are totally different, and this is supposed to be in the very same time frame. These issues were released basically in the same month. I understand artists give some sort of artistic leeway in how they're drawing characters, but come on, man. If I was to tell you as a sketch artist that I'm looking for a criminal and you draw me this girl on the left and you see the girl on the right, you'd be like, nah, it's not the same girl. I wish that the editors would say, hey, get into a room and lay some foundational parameters on how you're going to draw these characters. I mean, I didn't include Peter Parker, but Todd McFarlane's depiction of Peter Parker looks nothing like Sal's depiction of Peter Parker. Sal's depiction looks more like the 1960s classic version of Peter Parker, the Jack Kirby version. I know it's not a huge deal. We both know, everybody knows it's Mary Jane, but visually, in terms of continuity, these characters don't look anything alike. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And we quickly go to Jackson Heights in Queens, where Joe Robertson has returned home after a walk around the block, a new record since he was released from the hospital. Although his wife Martha is proud of him, she's upset to have learned that J. Jonah Jameson, that Joe intends to plead guilty before a grand jury on the charges of accessory to murder. The two continue to argue over Joe's decision, ultimately ending when Martha slams the door when she goes inside, like women do, and leaves Joe on the stoop to brood over his decision. Later that evening in Hicksville, Long Island, Harry Osborn awakes from another nightmare. He's been having them frequently. We saw them have one in the last episode, Amazing Spider-Man number 311. He tells his wife Liz that it's the same as before. He keeps seeing his father's face in a mirror, and then it turns into some kind of monster. His wife Liz points out that these nightmares began since they've moved back into the old Osborn family home. Before they can discuss anything else, their son Normie wakes up screaming and crying. Thinking that Normie had a nightmare as well, Harry decides that Liz is right. Enough is enough. This house is too spooky. It's affecting them too much, and they need to move back to their home in New Jersey. This gives Liz a bit of relief knowing that Harry's past history with his father, and she knows that this place is doing something weird to him, and she also feels like there's always something watching over them. And Liz's fears are justified as we see the hobgoblin briefly hovering over the home before he flies away. This next scene's a little odd, a little suspect here. The following day, Peter is taking a morning shower. He gets soap in his eyes. He's like, Mary Jane, can I get a towel? And then he realizes, to his embarrassment, it's Christy who brought him the towel. Now, Christy, we could see she is not of consensual age of 18. And she makes a comment about how cute Peter looks. And that's not creepy at all. Outside the bathroom, Christy asks Mary Jane if she can make some breakfast, which we know she gonna just throw it up. MJ allows it, but jokingly warns her to stop flirting with her man. Finally given some privacy, Peter gets dressed, thinking about how uncomfortable having Christy around makes him feel. I get you, bro. There might be some continuity issues here because Peter Parker gets a phone call from his good friend Harry Osborn when we know that around this time all the phones in New York City are not working. They've been demonically possessed, but we'll allow it. He gets a phone call. Harry asks him to come help him out at his factory. Later at the Starlight Room in Midtown Manhattan, Ben Ulrich is on the scene of yet another murder of the members of the Kingpin's mob. The slaughter of a room full of people is grisly sight for the otherwise hard-boiled reporter. Lieutenant Frank Farrow shows him a message written in blood on one of the tablecloths. It reads, "Kingpin, wolves kill." We find out later in Spectacular Spider-Man number 143 that this slaughter was carried out by the Lobo brothers, the pair getting revenge against the Kingpin after his assistant, the Arranger, sent the Punisher to try and kill them. When the Arranger arrives, demanding to know who's in charge of this situation, Frank demands answers from the Arranger. He insists that his employer is a respectable businessman, refused to talk, even if there is a looming gang war on the horizon. A quick side note, if you haven't paid attention, count how many characters in this issue are smoking, either cigarette or a cigar. I find it interesting as I don't see very many characters in modern comics depicted or drawn smoking a cigarette, but here we see Ben, we see the Detective Farrow is smoking a cigar, J. Jonah Jameson, etc. So try to pay attention how many people in these comics are smoking. Ben Urich calls the event into the Daily Bugle, telling Joy Mercado the whole story. As they're talking, Glory Grant approaches Joy and tells her to pass along a message to J. Jonah Jameson that he is looking for Ben. She explains that since Joe is always away on leave, Jameson is taking a more active role in running the Daily Bugle. Why is this a problem? J. Jonah Jameson has always been known as editor-in-chief of the Daily Bugle. Well, back in Amazing Spider-Man number 251, J. Jonah Jameson willingly stepped down from the position of editor-in-chief of the Bugle after he received publicly his involvement in the creation of the Scorpion. And since then, Joe Robertson had filled the role until he was injured by the Tombstone. J. Jonah Jameson is a stickler for detail, and he changes the exclamation in Poltergeist to a question mark in Poltergeist, totally changing the headline, making it so much better. And Glory tells Kate not to worry about Jonah, pointing out that after working with him all these years, she's learned that he is more bark than bite. Glory then goes on her lunch break, and in the lobby of the Bugle building, she bumps into Eduardo Lobo, and we know what he's done. Unaware of his criminal background, she's instantly taken by his charm and agrees to allow him to take her out for lunch, even though him and his brother are murdering bastards. At the Osborn chemical plant, Harry is telling his good friend Peter about his strange nightmares he's been having recently. Peter asks Harry why he would move back in his old family home. Harry says he isn't sure. He feels like there's unfinished business there. He's like drawn back to the Osborn estate. And this worries Peter as it gives credibility to his concern that Harry might turn back into the Green Goblin again. Peter Parker mentions Harry's drug addiction, and remember, Harry had an overdose in an Amazing Spider-Man number 96 through 98, and he relapsed again in Amazing Spider-Man number 121, one of the contributing factors that led to Harry adopting the disguise of the Green Goblin, because he's a massive drug addict. Peter is happy and almost relieved to hear that Harry plans to move his family back to his home in New Jersey. And as Peter tells Harry to just take it easy, Peter's spider senses begin going off. Suddenly, the pipes around the chemical plant come to life. One of the pipes wraps herself around Harry and begins squeezing the life out of him. Peter slips away so he can change into Spider-Man. The web crawler goes to Harry's aid and pulls him free. After he smashes the rest of the animated pipes, the confused Spider-Man wonders what the cause of this situation. What's going on here? With the other Osborn workers running to their safety, Spider-Man carries the knocked out body of Harry Osborn off the property, which has just caught fire. As he puts Harry onto the ground, he hears Harry muttering something about the face in the mirror, and how it does not look like him. Wondering what caused the chaos at the chemical plant, Spider-Man happens to spy the hobgoblin flying away. Spider-Man then quickly slips away and changes back into Peter Parker before Harry Osborn regains his consciousness. A fire crew arrives at the scene, and Harry Osborn recalls how his father left the company to him and in his care, and he's so angry to see it up in flames. Peter tries to convince Harry to just calm down, man. You got insurance. But Harry's too angry and storms off. Peter is really upset to see Harry starting to act too much like his late father and has a really bad feeling about what's going to happen next. Later that evening, Harry Osborn wakes up from another nightmare, decides that he's going to move his family back to New Jersey in the morning. Enough is enough of these nightmares. He gets a glass of water and he's horrified to see the image of his father dressed as the Green Goblin appear in the mirror. Oh no! The Green Goblin tells Harry that he will be his always and forever. Make sure to hit that like button for this episode as this episode is over, and stay tuned for the continuation in part 12 of the Inferno series coming in the Web of Spider-Man number 47. Thank you so much. God bless you. I hope you have a great rest of the day, a great week, and I'll see you real soon. Peace.